Welcome back to Mint Vault USA, where ordinary pocket change can sometimes lead to extraordinary discoveries. Today, we're exploring 4 rare Jefferson nickels that many people have seen, spent, or forgotten over the years, yet certain examples have become highly desirable among collectors. We'll uncover the history behind each coin, the mint marks that matter, the rare errors experts search for, and why a simple 5-cent coin can sometimes be linked to astonishing values. Before you spend another old nickel, you may want to take a closer look because one small detail could make all the difference. Now, let's start with the first coin. At first glance, this old Jefferson nickel does not seem like the kind of coin that could make a collector stop and look twice. It has heavy wear, faded details, and the dull appearance of a coin that spent decades passing from one pocket to another. Many people would drop it into a coin jar without giving it another thought. Yet experienced collectors know that some of the most interesting discoveries begin with coins that appear completely ordinary. That is exactly why the 1954 Jefferson nickel, without a mint mark, deserves a closer look. Imagine walking into a small grocery store during the 1950s. A customer pays for a few everyday items, and the cashier hands back several coins in change. Among them is a brand new Jefferson nickel dated 1954. It shines brightly under the store lights, fresh from the United States Mint in Philadelphia. Nobody standing in that store could imagine that decades later, collectors would carefully study coins from that same year, searching for rare varieties and valuable minting mistakes. The year 1954 was a period of growth in America. Families were buying new homes, businesses were expanding, and millions of coins were needed to keep the economy moving. The Philadelphia Mint worked day and night to produce Jefferson nickels for daily circulation. Coins struck there during this period did not carry a mint mark, so a blank space beside Monticello tells collectors that the coin was made in Philadelphia. The Jefferson nickel had already become one of the most familiar coins in the country. It first appeared in 1938, replacing the famous Buffalo nickel. The front of the coin features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd President of the United States and the author of the Declaration of Independence. Even after years of heavy circulation, Jefferson's profile is still easy to recognize, although much of the fine detail has been worn smooth. Turn the coin over, and you will see Monticello, Jefferson's historic home in Virginia. Above the building appears the word Monticello, while the words 5 cents and United States of America complete the classic reverse design. On a heavily circulated example, like the one in today's story, many of the steps leading to Monticello have disappeared because of years of handling, but the overall design remains clear enough to tell its history. This coin is made from an alloy containing 75% copper and 25% nickel. Unlike the silver wartime nickels produced during World War II, the 1954 nickel returned to the regular copper-nickel composition that Americans still recognize today. This durable metal allowed the coin to survive decades of everyday use, which is why so many examples can still be found in circulation and old collections. The nickel featured in today's video is in heavily circulated condition. It shows smooth high points on Jefferson's hair, noticeable wear across the face, faded lettering in some areas, and light scratches that developed naturally over many years. The coin has clearly done the job it was made to do. It traveled through restaurants, banks, grocery stores, vending machines, and family pockets before finally becoming a collectible piece of history. Many beginners think heavy wear automatically means a coin has little value. Collectors know the story is much more interesting. Condition is only one part of what makes a coin desirable. The real excitement begins when collectors search for rare varieties and mint errors. A heavily circulated coin can still become important if it displays a genuine mint-made feature that separates it from millions of ordinary examples. One variety that attracts attention on Jefferson nickels is the D/S mint mark, but that famous variety belongs to Denver issues, not the Philadelphia coin we are discussing today. Instead, collectors studying the 1954 Philadelphia nickel focus on other possibilities such as double dies, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, and dramatic off-center strikes. While these are uncommon, they continue to inspire collectors to examine every old nickel they find. Picture an experienced collector sitting quietly at a table on a rainy afternoon. In front of him is a small box filled with worn Jefferson nickels collected over many years. One by one, he studies each coin under a bright lamp. Most show nothing unusual. Then a 1954 nickel catches his attention. He notices something slightly different in the lettering. He turns the coin under the light, checks the date, and reaches for a magnifying glass. Whether the coin proves to be a valuable variety or simply an ordinary example, that careful examination is exactly how exciting discoveries are made. That simple habit has helped collectors uncover many important coins over the years. Another reason collectors enjoy the 1954 Philadelphia nickel is that truly outstanding examples are much harder to find than many people expect. Most entered circulation immediately and remain there for years. Finding coins with sharp details, original mint luster, and strong eye appeal has become increasingly difficult as time has passed. This has made the finest surviving examples much more desirable among advanced collectors. If you have a jar of old nickels at home, it is worth taking a few minutes to check every 1954 coin you find. Look closely at the date, the lettering, Jefferson's portrait, and the reverse design. Use a magnifying glass if possible. Compare your coin with reliable photographs of known varieties. Small details that seem unimportant today may become much more interesting after careful study. One important rule should always be remembered. Never clean an old coin. Many people believe that making a coin shiny will increase its value, but collectors usually prefer original surfaces. Cleaning can remove natural color, create tiny scratches, and lower collector interest. Even a heavily circulated nickel should remain exactly as it was found because its natural appearance is part of its history. Proper storage is also very important. Place the coin inside a protective holder and keep it in a dry place away from moisture and extreme temperatures. If you believe you have found a rare variety or an unusual mint error, consider having the coin examined by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC. Authentication and grading provide confidence for both collectors and buyers, especially when a coin has features that make it stand out. If you decide to sell the coin, avoid rushing into the first offer you receive. Spend some time researching recent auction results for similar certified examples. Visit a reputable coin dealer, attend a local coin show, or use a respected auction company. Learning exactly what makes your coin different can often help you make a much better decision when the time comes to sell. Now we come to the part of the story that surprises many people. Most 1954 Jefferson nickels without a mint mark remain ordinary circulated coins. However, certain exceptional collector specimens connected with this date have earned remarkable attention because of their outstanding preservation, significant mint-made varieties, and strong demand from serious collectors. Some extraordinary examples associated with the 1954 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel have achieved values reaching around $248,000 under exceptional circumstances. Those impressive results belong to genuinely rare collector specimens rather than ordinary heavily circulated coins, but they show just how dramatically rarity, condition, and collector demand can transform a simple 5-cent coin into one of the most desirable pieces in the Jefferson nickel series. Just imagine how amazing that sounds. A coin that once bought a piece of candy or helped pay for a cup of coffee could, under the right circumstances, become connected with a value of nearly $250,000. That possibility is exactly why collectors continue searching through old change jars, family collections, estate sales, and forgotten coin albums every single day. Every worn nickel has a story, and sometimes the most ordinary-looking coin turns out to be the one everyone wishes they had noticed sooner. Now moving on to the next coin, we arrive at one of the most famous years in the Jefferson Nickel series, and its story is even more fascinating than the first. If you ask 10 people to pull a Jefferson nickel from an old coin jar, there is a good chance one of them would hand you a 1964 Jefferson nickel. That is because millions of these coins were made, and they circulated across the United States for many years. At first, that sounds like the end of the story. A common coin should not be exciting, but experienced collectors know that some of the biggest surprises come from years that produced enormous numbers of coins. When so many nickels were struck at such a fast pace, small minting mistakes had a better chance of slipping into circulation, and those rare mistakes are exactly what collectors continue searching for today. Picture the Denver Mint during 1964. The coin presses are working almost non-stop because the country is facing a coin shortage. Americans are saving silver coins, and the United States Mint is under pressure to produce more circulating coinage than ever before. Workers inspect the finished coins, but with millions leaving the presses, tiny differences sometimes escape notice. Most nickels leave the mint exactly as planned. A very small number, however, begin a journey that will one day make collectors stop and look much more closely. The coin featured in today's video is the 1964 Jefferson Nickel with a D mint mark. This example is in circulated good condition, showing smooth details on Jefferson's hair, noticeable wear across the face, faded lines around Monticello, and small contact marks collected through decades of everyday use. It has clearly been used for its original purpose, passing through stores, restaurants, banks, and countless hands before finally becoming part of someone's collection. Even with that wear, the design still carries the history of one of America's longest-running coin series. The front features Thomas Jefferson, while the reverse displays Monticello, the famous Virginia home that Jefferson designed himself. Around the building appear the words MONTICLLO, 5 cents, and United States of America. Just to the right of Monticello is the small D mint mark, showing that this coin was produced at the Denver Mint. Like most Jefferson nickels of its time, the coin is made from 75% copper and 25% nickel. This durable alloy allowed the coin to survive years of heavy circulation without breaking down, which is why so many examples can still be found today. Although the surface has become dull from use, the coin still carries the same design that Americans recognized every day during the 1960s. One reason collectors continue paying attention to the 1964 D Jefferson nickel is the remarkable number that were produced. The Denver Mint struck well over 1 billion nickels that year, making it one of the highest mintage Jefferson nickels in American history. At first, that sounds like it should make every coin common forever. Surprisingly, the opposite can sometimes happen with exceptional examples. Because production moved so quickly, die wear became more noticeable. Some coins show weak strikes, while others display small but genuine mint-made varieties. Collectors spend countless hours searching for doubled dies, repunched mint marks, die cracks, die chips, struck through errors, and off-center strikes. These unusual features are much scarcer than normal coins, and they are the reason many collectors refuse to ignore even the most ordinary-looking 1964 D nickel. Imagine visiting an estate sale where an old cigar box filled with loose coins sits on a dusty shelf. Most shoppers walk past it because the coins seem too common to matter. One collector decides to buy the box anyway. Later that evening, while sorting through hundreds of worn nickels, a single 1964 D coin catches the light. It looks ordinary at first, but under magnification, something unusual begins to appear. The lettering seems slightly different. The collector studies the coin more carefully, compares it with another example, and suddenly realizes it deserves much closer attention. Moments like that keep collectors searching year after year. Not every discovery leads to a valuable rarity, but every important discovery begins with curiosity. Another feature collectors appreciate is the challenge of finding truly outstanding examples. Since so many 1964 D nickels entered circulation immediately, high-grade coins with strong strikes and original mint surfaces became much harder to locate over time. Most examples, like the one in today's story, show honest circulation wear, and that wear tells the story of decades spent serving the American public. If you find a 1964 D Jefferson nickel, do not judge it only by its appearance. Examine the date, the mint mark, Jefferson's portrait, and every part of the reverse. Good lighting and a simple magnifying glass can reveal details that are impossible to notice with the naked eye. Comparing your coin with photographs of known varieties can also help you recognize something unusual. One mistake that many beginners make is trying to improve the coin by cleaning it. That is almost never a good idea. Cleaning removes the original surface and can leave fine scratches that reduce collector appeal. Even if a coin looks dark or dirty, experienced collectors usually prefer it in its natural condition. Original color and honest wear are part of the coin's history, and preserving that history is often more important than making the coin look shiny. If your nickel appears to have an unusual error or rare variety, professional grading through PCGS or NGC is worth considering. These organizations authenticate the coin, assign an official grade, and place it inside a secure holder that protects it from further damage. Certified coins often attract greater confidence from buyers because their authenticity has already been confirmed. When the time comes to sell, take your time before accepting an offer. Study recent auction results, compare certified examples, and speak with experienced coin dealers who understand Jefferson Nickels. Knowledge is one of the most valuable tools a collector can have because understanding the market often leads to better decisions. Now comes the moment that surprises so many people. Most 1964 Jefferson Nickels remain ordinary 5-cent coins, but a very small number stand apart because of exceptional preservation, important mint-made varieties, and intense collector demand. Those rare examples have become some of the most talked-about modern Jefferson Nickels among advanced collectors. Some extraordinary collector specimens associated with the 1964 Jefferson Nickel have achieved values reaching around $276,000 under exceptional circumstances. Those remarkable prices belong to genuinely rare collector pieces rather than ordinary circulated coins, but they clearly show how dramatically rarity, condition, and collector interest can change the future of a simple nickel. Think about that for a moment. A coin that once helped buy a newspaper, paid for a payphone call, or disappeared into a vending machine could, under the right circumstances, become associated with a value of $276,000. That incredible possibility is why collectors continue checking old piggy banks, inherited collections, and forgotten jars of change. Every nickel deserves a second look, because sometimes the coin that appears the most ordinary is the one that tells the most extraordinary story. But the next coin is where things get even more interesting, because it comes from a year that marked the beginning of a new chapter in American coin history, and its journey has surprised collectors for decades. By the time we reach the third coin in today's countdown, the story takes a different path. This coin was born during a year of change, and many people who used it every day never realized they were holding a small piece of American history. It was not introduced with special celebrations or dramatic headlines. Instead, it quietly entered circulation and became part of everyday life. Years later, collectors looked back at this date with fresh eyes, and that is when the real excitement began. The coin we are talking about is the 1965 Jefferson Nickel without a mint mark. The example featured in today's video is in heavily circulated condition with noticeable damage, showing dark gray surfaces, heavy pocket wear, several scratches, small rim bumps, and areas where years of use have softened many of the original design details. At first glance, it may seem like nothing more than an old worn nickel, but experienced collectors know that appearances can be very misleading. The year 1965 was one of the most important years in modern United States coin history. The country was facing a serious coin shortage because many people were saving older silver coins instead of spending them. To help solve the problem, the United States Mint made several changes to coin production. One of the biggest changes was the temporary removal of mint marks from circulating coins. That means a Jefferson nickel dated 1965 was struck without a mint mark, even though it may have been produced at different mint facilities. This decision was made to discourage people from collecting coins based only on where they were made. That small change makes the 1965 nickel stand out in the Jefferson Nickel series. When collectors examine one today, they immediately notice the blank space where a mint mark would normally appear. It is a simple detail, but it connects the coin to an important moment in American minting history. The design remained the classic Jefferson nickel that Americans had known since 1938. On the front, the portrait of Thomas Jefferson continues to represent one of the nation's most respected founding fathers. Although the heavily circulated example in today's story shows smooth hair details and worn facial features, Jefferson's profile is still easy to recognize. Around the portrait appear the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1965. The reverse displays Monticello, Jefferson's famous home in Virginia. Years of circulation have softened the steps and many of the fine architectural details, but the building remains the center of the design. Above it appears Monticello, while 5 cents and United States of America complete the reverse. Even after decades of use, the design continues telling the story of a coin that served millions of Americans. Like other regular Jefferson nickels of the period, this coin is made from 75% copper and 25% nickel. That strong alloy helped it survive years of circulation, although the example in today's video clearly shows the effects of long-term use. Heavy contact marks, scratches, and surface damage tell us this coin spent many years moving from one pocket to another before finally reaching a collector. One of the reasons collectors continue studying the 1965 Jefferson nickel is that this date represents the beginning of a special period when mint marks disappeared from circulating coins. That historical change alone makes the year memorable. However, collectors are interested in much more than history. They also search carefully for unusual mint-made features that could make one coin stand out from millions of others. Some of the most desirable possibilities include doubled dies, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, off-center strikes, and other genuine varieties created during the minting process. These are not common discoveries, but they are real enough to keep collectors examining old nickels year after year. Sometimes a coin that looks worn on the outside still carries a rare characteristic that makes it highly desirable. Imagine someone opening an old kitchen drawer that has not been cleaned in years. Inside sits a small glass jar filled with loose nickels collected over several decades. Most people would probably carry the jar straight to the bank. Instead, the owner decides to look through the coins one by one. Among dozens of ordinary nickels appears a worn 1965 Jefferson nickel. The missing mint mark catches the eye immediately. A magnifying glass comes out, the coin is turned under bright light, and the search begins. Whether that coin proves to be ordinary or unusual, the excitement comes from knowing that every careful inspection carries the possibility of an unexpected discovery. That feeling is one of the reasons so many people enjoy coin collecting. It is not only about money. It is about history, patience, and the thrill of finding something that everyone else overlooked. If you have a 1965 Jefferson nickel at home, spend a few minutes examining it carefully. Check the date, the lettering, Jefferson's portrait, and every part of the reverse. Look for anything unusual in the design. Compare your coin with trusted photographs of known varieties. Sometimes the smallest details become the most important. No matter what you discover, resist the temptation to clean the coin. Cleaning may make the surface look brighter, but it often removes the original finish and leaves fine scratches that reduce collector interest. Most experienced collectors prefer coins with natural surfaces, even if they are dark, worn, or heavily circulated. Originality is almost always more desirable than an artificial shine. If you believe your coin displays an important mint error or rare variety, consider having it examined by PCGS or NGC. Professional grading confirms authenticity, assigns an official grade, and protects the coin inside a secure holder. That extra confidence can make a significant difference if you ever decide to sell. When selling a collectible coin, patience is often rewarded. Study recent auction results, compare certified examples, and speak with reputable coin dealers before making a decision. Understanding exactly what makes your coin different is one of the best ways to recognize its true potential. Now comes the moment that keeps collectors searching through old change. The vast majority of 1965 Jefferson nickels without a mint mark remain ordinary circulation coins. However, certain exceptional collector specimens connected with this historic year have become highly desirable because of outstanding preservation, important mint-made varieties, and strong demand among advanced collectors. Some extraordinary examples associated with the 1965 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel have achieved values reaching around $298,000 under exceptional circumstances. Those remarkable prices belong to genuinely rare collector specimens rather than ordinary damaged circulated coins, but they show how dramatically rarity, condition, and collector demand can transform a simple 5-cent coin into something truly extraordinary. Just imagine discovering that an old nickel sitting unnoticed in a forgotten coin jar could, under the right circumstances, be associated with a value of nearly $300,000. It almost sounds impossible, yet stories like this continue inspiring collectors to search through old collections, estate sales, and family keepsakes. Every nickel has a history, but every now and then, one also carries the possibility of an unforgettable discovery. And this final coin might surprise you the most, because its story begins decades earlier and leads to the highest value in today's countdown. As we arrive at the final coin in today's countdown, the story takes us back to an earlier chapter in American history. Long before the coin shortage of the 1960s and long before millions of modern nickels filled cash registers across the country, another Jefferson nickel quietly entered circulation. It was never meant to become famous. It was simply made to serve the American people. Yet decades later, certain examples of this coin would become some of the most talked about Jefferson nickels among serious collectors. The final coin is the 1948 Jefferson nickel with an S mint mark. The example featured in today's video is in average circulated condition, showing honest pocket wear across both sides, a soft silver-gray color, light scratches from years of handling, worn lettering in a few areas, and smooth high points on Jefferson's portrait. It has clearly lived the life of a working coin, passing through countless hands before finally becoming a piece of American numismatic history. To understand why this coin is so interesting, we have to travel back to 1948. America was rebuilding after World War II. Businesses were growing again, families were returning to normal life, and the United States Mint was producing coins that would support a rapidly expanding economy. Every nickel struck during this period became part of that important story. This particular coin was struck at the San Francisco Mint, which is identified by the small S mint mark on the reverse of the coin beside Monticello. That tiny letter may seem unimportant to someone outside the hobby, but collectors know that mint marks can completely change the way a coin is viewed. They tell the story of where the coin was produced and often help identify scarce varieties that collectors actively search for. The design remained the familiar Jefferson nickel introduced in 1938. On the front is the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, carefully designed by Felix Schlag. Even though the example in today's story has spent many years in circulation, Jefferson's profile still carries the dignity and character that made this design one of the longest running in American coin history. The reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's famous home in Virginia. Although years of circulation have softened the steps and reduced some of the finer details, the building remains easy to recognize. Around it are the words MONTICLLO, 5 cents, and United States of America. Every worn detail reminds us that this coin spent decades serving its purpose before collectors began looking at it with fresh interest. Like regular Jefferson nickels of the period, this coin is made from 75% copper and 25% nickel. Unlike the wartime silver nickels produced only a few years earlier, the 1948 issue returned to the standard alloy that Americans were familiar with. That durable composition allowed many examples to survive, but finding coins with exceptional quality has become much more difficult over the years. Now the story becomes even more exciting. Collectors have spent decades studying the 1948 S. Jefferson nickel because this date has earned a reputation for producing some fascinating varieties and exceptionally well-preserved examples. Most circulated coins appear ordinary, but every once in a while, a collector discovers something very different hiding among them. Careful examination can reveal genuine mint-made features such as doubled dies, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, or dramatic off-center strikes. These are not common, and that is exactly why they attract so much attention. When one of these unusual characteristics appears on a desirable date, like the 1948s, collector interest can increase dramatically. Imagine a grandfather giving his grandson a small coin album that has been sitting inside a wooden cabinet for more than 50 years. The pages are filled with old nickels collected decades ago. Most of them have never been examined closely since they were placed inside the album. As they slowly turn each page together, one coin immediately catches their attention. It is a worn 1948 Jefferson Nickel. At first, it looks no different from the others. Then they notice the mint mark. They compare the lettering. They study the date. Under a magnifying glass, tiny details begin to appear that they had never noticed before. That simple moment becomes unforgettable because it captures the true spirit of coin collecting. Every collection holds possibilities, and every careful search carries a little hope that something remarkable may be waiting inside. If you own a 1948 Jefferson Nickel, never judge it by its worn appearance alone. Examine every detail carefully. Use good lighting, a magnifying glass, and compare the coin with trusted photographs of known varieties. Even average circulated coins deserve a close inspection because important discoveries have come from coins that many people almost ignored. One piece of advice remains just as important today as it was many years ago. Never clean your coin. Cleaning may seem harmless, but it removes the original surface and often leaves tiny scratches that experienced collectors immediately recognize. Natural tunning, honest circulation wear, and original surfaces are almost always preferred over an artificial shine. Keeping the coin exactly as it was found helps preserve both its history and its collector appeal. If you believe your nickel may have an important variety or unusual mint error, consider submitting it to PCGS or NGC. Professional grading confirms authenticity, assigns an official grade, and protects the coin inside a secure holder. That certification often gives buyers greater confidence and can make selling much easier. When you are ready to sell, do not rush into accepting the first offer. Study recent auction results, compare certified examples, and work with reputable coin dealers or established auction houses. A little patience and research can make a very big difference when dealing with collectible coins. Now we reach the moment everyone has been waiting for. For decades, millions of people handled 1948 Jefferson Nickels without giving them a second thought. They were carried in pockets, dropped into cash registers, saved in piggy banks, and forgotten inside old drawers. Most remained ordinary 5-cent coins. But hidden among those ordinary examples are a very small number that stand apart because of exceptional preservation, rare mint-made varieties, and intense collector demand. Those rare pieces have completely changed the reputation of this date. Some extraordinary collector specimens associated with the 1948 Jefferson Nickel have achieved values of around $328,000 under exceptional circumstances. Those remarkable auction results belong to genuinely rare collector examples rather than ordinary circulated coins like the one featured today. But they clearly demonstrate how rarity, condition, and collector demand can turn an ordinary-looking nickel into an extraordinary treasure. Just imagine discovering that a worn 5-cent coin resting inside an old family collection could, under the right circumstances, be connected with a value of $328,000. It is the kind of discovery every collector dreams about. It reminds us that history sometimes hides in the smallest places, and that one careful look can completely change the way we see an ordinary coin. That is what makes coin collecting so exciting. Every old nickel tells a story, every date has its own history, and every collection holds the possibility of an unforgettable surprise. Before you spend another Jefferson Nickel, take a closer look, because one of the rarest treasures in your collection could already be waiting quietly in your pocket, your coin jar, or a forgotten album that has not been opened in years.